Please listen carefully.
Well, hello, universe. Welcome to the Optimist Daily Update. I'm Summers Kristy.
And I'm Kristy Jansen, and we're part of the team behind the Optimist Daily, making solutions the news. We bring you reader-funded solutions news every day in order to change the tenor of news media, social media, and the direction of your day to one focused on solutions.
7 days a week, we publish positive news stories written by award-winning journalists and delivered online to your inbox and through our social channels. And also, we are sharing these solutions in a commute-worthy, walk-worthy, home office-worthy, Amelia's back, hooray-worthy podcast. Today is Friday, the 16th of October, 2020. So everyone, Amelia is there listening, recording, producing, and Kristy and I can finally breathe a sigh of relief. Kristy, I feel like we didn't break anything while she was gone, but boy, it is a lot easier when Amelia is here on the team.
Absolutely. I'm so glad that she's back, and I'm so glad that she's on the road to recovery. And Amelia, we've missed you. If you listen to the last few days, you'll hear that every single day.
So, Kristy, what's the world look like for you today?
The world is quite nice, although a bit overcast. It's cloudy with a chance of sun, I guess, is what I would say.
Lovely. And do you have any fun weekend plans?
As I mentioned earlier, we are going to be renovating our garage. I'm really excited for that project. You know how much fun it can be to actually reorganize things. I think it does really release a bunch of energy. Since we are at home, our house has become our castle.
Exactly.
Trying to make it as livable and as refreshing as possible has become a ongoing project.
Good. Well, I think you might have inspired my husband because this morning, he was talking about going to get some shelving units for our garage. Yeah. So that's probably in our future too. I have some girlfriends, my socially distant lawn party that I hang out with, and we were planning a walk for Sunday morning. And one of my girlfriends said, "Oh, you're such an early bird on the weekends." And I laughed and laughed because, weekends with the baby don't really do anything different than a weekday with the baby because she has no sense of time or weekends or Sunday morningness. So we will be up bright and early and out enjoying some green space. And thank goodness there is lots of green space. We have a different podcast for you guys today. We are actually doing an interview, changing it up for Friday. Kristy, who are we talking to and what is our conversation about today?
We are so excited to be bringing on to the Optimist Daily Update Ole-Kristian Sivertsen, the CEO of Desert Control, which is a really unique company located in Norway that has the mission to make the earth green again. And they are focused on solving the really serious issue of desertification, which is the human-caused degradation of land in dry climates. So Ole, welcome. Welcome to the Optimist Daily Update. Ole-Kristian.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you. It's an honor to be a guest at your wonderful show.
Thank you so much. Well, tell us a little bit about Desert Control and what you guys are working on and how you do this interesting transformation of arid soil into nutrient-rich, food-growing soil.
Yes. Well, let me start with really the sort of the sizing up the problem that we are addressing, because I think desertification and degradation of the topsoil that we have on Earth is something that is happening out of sight, out of mind. We don't think too much about it in our everyday lives. It's happening under our feet, and also this topsoil is getting thinner and thinner from underneath. So what is really going on in the world? If we look to scientific research and papers from organizations like the United Nations and IPCC reports and stuff like that, we will find that conclusions are that we are losing something like 12 million hectares of fertile land every year to desertification and soil degradation. Now, 12 million hectares doesn't really tell people very much. So how big is that? I mean, if you compare that to a city, if you take New York City, is it somewhere in that area? You would actually have to have 2,030 times the size of New York City.
Wow.
Yeah, and if you break it down into football fields, it's actually 2,000 football fields every hour that go from fertile, rich land to dust and sand. If you line these football fields after each other, you have to go at 210 kilometers per hour or 130 miles per hour to keep up to just keep up as they turn into deserts. So that's the problem we're addressing.
Wow. I'm a little bit familiar with this. I had the opportunity to speak with and spend some time with John D. Liu a couple of years ago, are you familiar with his work? Because this is one of his missions as well. He's a soil scientist who was a cinematographer for ABC News years ago, but he was filming some of the changes that they're doing on the Loess Plains in China. And his mission is to emphasize the harmful effects of desertification of biomass and organic matter and biodiversity. And that this is exactly the project that he was working on. So are you familiar with his work at all?
I've read some pieces about some of his work, but I've not been in dialogue with him or contact with him directly.
The thing that I was so interested in there is just adding biomass into the soil within 7-10 years, you can actually totally transform a landscape. And he's documented that. But what you're talking about, I think, with what you guys do works even more quickly than that.
Before you guys get into it, because both of you guys are obviously incredibly familiar with it, but can we just define desertification? What is it and what does it look like? Because while the name is very descriptive, Ole-Kristian, what happens to this agricultural land? How does this happen?
Yeah, I mean, it's a rather complex and sort of composed picture of lots of different elements that go into causing this, really. But if we think about our land, our soil is actually a living thing. A mere teaspoon of healthy soil contains 1 billion bacteria, thousands of protozoas, dozens of nematodes, and an army of creatures in there that are ripe for a superhero movie. And, the strain that we are putting on the land by heavy tilling, by adding chemical fertilizers and pesticides and killing off this, incredible ecosystem of earthlings in those areas. Well, I mean, the resistance towards temperature rises and heats, they decrease. And then you get this evil spiral, right? So you release carbon from the soil, from a dying ecosystem. That carbon goes up into the atmosphere, increases the temperatures further, which then becomes this evil cycle of accelerating degradation of the land until, all the black matter, this black organic thing that makes the soil rich and dark, that's the living matter, the organic matter in the soil. And when that is reduced, so it's only mineral that is left. That's the other component of soil. Soil is organic matter and minerals. Minerals being sand, silt, and clay and stuff like that. When there's only mineral left, then you have basically degraded the land from rich agricultural, fertile land to dust.
Wow. That's really such a visual explanation, Ole-Kristian. That was tremendous. And then the solution then, I mean, I know one of the main ways to transform that is to increase the water retention. And how does that help to build the soil back into a living organism?
If you imagine then that you have a soil ecosystem that is degraded, so that is mainly minerals, right? And if that is highly sandy areas, if you add water to there, what's going to happen, right? That water is just going to flush through.
Right.
Now that's super important to start attacking that first, because whilst we have all this land degrading, 12 million hectares, 2,000 football fields an hour degrading, our global population is growing so fast that we will need more food in the next 40 years than the planet has produced over the last 500. And producing food requires so much water. A hamburger, the water footprint of a hamburger is 2,000 liters. A piece of bread is 80 liters, and just a small cup of coffee, more than 130 liters or 43 gallons just for your morning coffee, right?
So oh God! And I drink coffee.
I just took a sip
of
my coffee now. I have a whole new understanding.
The Optimist Daily update is brought to you by copious amounts of coffee, and now I'm realizing the water damage we're doing just by producing this podcast.
Yeah.
It's really remarkable to think about the requirements that go into just producing daily consumables.
It is. And as more and more land is degraded, and it's not just the deserts and warm areas, it's happening, all over the world, in Spain, in America, in Germany. I mean, if you read, I saw the Guardian predicted that agriculture in the UK may even only have 40 years of farming left because of the speed of topsoil degradation. So really, we have to start by attacking this this problem to make sure that, well, whilst we need to add organic matter and grow organic matter, well, one of the first things we need to do is to make sure that our soil can actually absorb and hold water and nutrients so that whatever we're applying there is not going to be just washed away.
So water retention is the target that Desert Control is really working with. Is that right? Is that how the lever you're using to help to rebuild these soils?
I kind of look at our way of attacking this as a catalyst solution to help stop the degradation and to rehabilitate degraded lands, to, kickstart the process so that the natural capabilities of cultivating healthy soil and the regeneration of that soil can start to come back again. Water retention is just sort of the starting point for what our technology is doing.
So let's talk about your technology a little bit. I think it's called liquid nanoclay.
Yeah, it sounds sort of very, very advanced and scientific when you call it liquid nanoclay, but let me explain a little bit what it is, because I think it's important to demystify things a little bit as well. So when we talk about water retention in soil, we've looked at, what types of soil are retaining the most water. And if you take a high clay soil, and compare that to a sandy soil, that retains water very, very well.
Mm-hmm.
But mixing clay into the ground, however, that's difficult. I struggle myself, just by, getting the flour into the dough when I'm making my Italian pizza on a Saturday, right? So just imagine getting sticky clay into sand and soil.
And actually, that's more like a brick, right? That's like, especially if it's dry.
Yeah. So we basically invented a process that can turn clay into a liquid that is nearly as thin as water. And then we can just apply this liquid on the surface of the degraded lands, and gravity does the rest by pulling the tiny clay particles down. And that's where nano comes into the picture, because we have to make sure that these clay particles are so small that they will be able to, with the water and by gravity, to penetrate the topsoil, so you don't get a lid of clay on the top there. There's a reason why we use clay in pottery and teacups and stuff like that. That really holds water, and we don't want that.
Mm-hmm.
So when those tiny clay particles travel through the surface and down into the layers, they will stick to every grain of sand in the soil downwards. And that will create a soil structure that retains water and nutrients just like a sponge.
Okay, so you're making a sponge out of the land instead of a dry runoff.
Yeah, we're not directly making it into a sponge, but you get that effect that it's absorbing the water and nutrients. Yeah, it's a metaphor. Yeah.
Yeah. Is it toxic? Is there a toxicity involved with this, or what's involved with that?
Water and clay and oxygen is basically what's involved in the process. So it's 100% natural, organic, certified, kind of only water and mineral. Clay is just a mineral, which is a natural ingredient to soil, and you find it in rich soils everywhere. So we've just made a way to liquefy it and find a way to distribute that into the soil in a non-intrusive way. And that's important as well. If I can touch just for a second on the non-intrusive part.
Yes.
Because there are many other solutions that are great as well. We have like biochar and polymers and other things that you can put into the soil in the root levels of the plants that are there, that have a high ability to retain water in these kind of substances. So the only issue is when you have to dig up and turn around that soil to work these kind of products into the land, you're going to be disturbing that ecosystem that is still there, those superheroes that I talked about. And secondly, soil contains a lot of carbon. And when that carbon, by digging and turning that soil around, when the carbon that is down under the surface comes up and is exposed to the air, carbon that reacts with oxygen becomes carbon dioxide, CO2, and escapes into the atmosphere. So you really want to find a non-intrusive way where you can treat this without digging up and turning and being even more harsh and harmful on the land.
I really appreciate you explaining that, because that non-intrusive capability of what the Desert Control is doing, I think, is really important to acknowledge. And then what's the result once first of all, I think on your website it says that you can turn around a plot of land in about 7 hours compared to the 7 years that a more gradual process might take. Can you talk a little bit about the timing?
What we mean about the 7-hour thing here is that within 7 hours of applying this liquid, you can put the seeds in the ground. Right. Oh. So if there is already nutrients enough in the soil to support the growth of vegetation, that will start growing based on that. And also, you will have nutrient retention capabilities in the soil within 7 hours of the treatment. So if you have to apply organic matter or some kind of organic nutrients or any kind of nutrient application, you can safely do that either directly together with the liquid application or directly after.
In the areas that you've used the liquid nanoclay, the LNC, what's the result? What kind of results do you get from this application?
Well, our last project was an independent research organization doing a validation of it. So we've been working for more than 10 years on really getting to where we are today, because when you're working with nature, it's not like working with software where you can debug whatever you're doing every hour. You need, a full year between each debug cycle. And you also want to make sure that the long-term impact on the ecosystem is what you want it to be and that no harmful things are happening. So our last project was 45 minutes drive outside of Dubai in the desert in the Middle East, in the UAE there. We planted up 144 plots with different crops like watermelons, zucchinis, pearl millets, grains, and stuff like that. And just seeing the transformation, this was in March this year. And, within 45 days, you had the seedlings going from, small seedlings of watermelons to these big watermelons popping up 2.5 meters taller than a person. Grains of pearl millet and stuff like that within a couple of months. So it just went from pure desert to an oasis. And this happened during COVID-19. And we also had the fortunate opportunity to be able to supply the fruits and vegetables that we grew there to the labor camps of people who were out of a job and really out of fresh food and fruits and vegetables. So they actually just called this fruits of hope from the desert. So it was a wonderful experience.
That's really amazing. Yeah, I think just allowing these, because so many of the countries that are really suffering from this kind of desertification have other challenges as well. So allowing them to support their own needs by growing on their own land, it's a tremendous benefit to these regions that have been hit by desert soils.
I want to weigh in with a couple business tactical questions. Ole-Kristian, tell us a little bit about your business, the startup, how you got it going, and kind of where you were at in the business cycle. Obviously, you look at your site, you've had major media coverage, so things are going well. But tell us a little bit about the inception and then where your business is at.
Yeah, so the inception, I already mentioned being more than 10 years ago with the idea actually coming from spotting the problem that scientists in Egypt were struggling with. It's a rather long story, and I can share that another time. But from there, we had a patent filed, and we developed the technology, started testing it, went to various different countries, been around in different areas to test it out before leading into the external validation that's been going on over the last 2 years. So we've been working together with an organization called ICBA, International Center for Biosaline Agriculture, as an independent research organization to do third-party validation. That's been the current stage leading up to 2019. 2019, we had the first full year report that showed extremely good results. It showed water savings compared to control plots of about 47%. It showed reduced soil salinity, improved soil health, and significant increase of yield and biomass production. Based on that, we said we've spent all this time really now on validating the liquid itself, and we didn't spend any time or invest any money in, having production capabilities and machines to actually produce large volumes of this liquid clay. Right. So we went out to the market at the end of 2019 to raise capital. By March 20th this year, we closed short of $5 million as the early stage seed funding to start building, and really working on scaling up the technology, these production units. Now we are working on figuring out how scalable can we make this? How cost efficient can we make this? We're going to be working on that for the next 6 to 12 months. We have the first design just coming into factory acceptance test now of a larger unit that can treat 5 hectares per day. We have another design for a unit that can treat 50 hectares per day. And then we really start talking about something that can become scalable. So that's going to be the focus up until sort of the third and into the fourth quarter of 2021. which is the time where we will start from scaling up technology capabilities to scaling out into markets.
So wonderful. Really impressive.
How much does it cost, or is your target cost like per acre or per square meter of land to employ this technology?
Well, right now, early stage with just the prototype equipment that's been used for validation. It's so labor intensive and small units. We're producing in batches to control the quality of this. So that's very costly. I mean, the cost of that is something like $20,000 per hectare. I think a hectare is like 2.4 acres or something like that. So it's very kind of costly to do it at this stage. But we are targeting getting to, significant reductions, and in a 5-year period, we're targeting getting to a fraction of that cost. And I think in terms of market expansion as well, we will follow before we get to a low cost structure, we see that we can add a lot of value to other nations where food production is super important as well. If you look at California, if you look at Arizona, Nevada, places like this, salinity and sort of the lack of water, the water situation is making it very, very valuable to both save and protect the agricultural fertile lands that we have, as well as reclaiming land that is already degraded and lost. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, if you have a 50% reduction in water use, that's a tremendous savings right there for many areas in the world.
Absolutely. And I mean, we're even getting requests from, cities, for their green parks and urban areas, golf courses and sports fields and stuff like that. So there's like all these green ecosystems where you're applying loads of water, and government restrictions are coming in saying, you need to reduce your water consumption because there's not going to be enough of it.
Mm-hmm. And you mentioned also soil salinity and saline soils. And I know this is a big issue with a lot of these desert areas have very salty soils, right? And so you're saying this also can help reverse that?
Yeah, we've seen in the initiatives together with the International Center for Biosaline Agriculture, quite a significant decrease of salinity in the topsoil layers. We've also seen that clay, we're still working on more research on this, but it seems that we're able to also increase the salinity tolerance for many plants with kind of this type of soil structure. It's something about the cationic exchange capacity of the soil that is really contributing to this. So cationic exchange capacity is basically every particle has an electrical charge, just like magnets, and equal charges, they will push from each other. And when you turn the magnets the right way, they will attach to each other. So if you kind of change the electric charge level in your soil, certain things are going to start to happen. And one of the things that can be impacted by this is driving down salinity, for example.
Wow, that's fascinating. I mean, that's way over my head. I don't even want to try to repronounce that word. But I think that's fantastic.
We could talk for hours, and this is such a fascinating conversation. Ole-Kristian, I know you really inspire Kristy and I as an entrepreneur and as a solution maker. It is so exciting to be able to have this conversation. We do not have the luxury of hours of your time. And so instead, we'll just say that we are so grateful for the time that you have shared with us. I have 2 final questions, basically. Is there anything that you would ask of our listeners or of Optimist Daily readers that you would like us to do? And our final question, which we ask everybody who is a guest on this podcast, is what keeps you optimistic?
Yeah. If I can ask something of listeners is to, be aware of what you can do. When we know about this incredible water situation and how much water food is demanding, let's raise our arms and say, just as we have calorie markings on the food, let's get water footprint markings on the food. And if somebody produces the food with half of the water consumption, I'm going to choose that food. And secondly, let's not sit around and wait, because, there is a tendency that we, let every time and all the time we prioritize what is urgent, right now. And we postpone even the most important thing in life just because we have something urgent to take care of first. And when the most important thing in life finally gets urgent, then it may already be too late. So act now. And the best and most important moment of your life is always right now.
Oh, I love that. And then last but not least, what keeps you optimistic?
What keeps me optimistic is that I have an immense belief in the potential of human beings and the power of humanity and the magic of nature. And if you want to learn more about that, I just gave a TED Talk yesterday, so the listeners can tune in for that one as well.
Oh, fantastic.
We'll have to put that into the show notes. Well, this has been a fascinating conversation, Ole-Kristian. We're just big fans of you and what you're doing with Desert Control. I think you definitely are a social impact, a climate impact company. We're very excited to see what happens over the coming years as you develop your technology and actually bring it to market. Thank you so much for spending time here. And thank you, everybody, for listening to today's Optimist Daily Update. As always, we promise to continue to share positive solution-based stories with ideas on how you can participate in this changing world and ensure it is changed for the good. So let's get those water footprint labels on food. That would be a great solution. I like that, Ole-Kristian. And we promise to cover current events with accuracy, legitimate sources, and to offer you the information needed most to chart new paths for all of us.
Everybody, please consider becoming an emissary on theoptimistdaily.com, and for just $5 a month, support reader-funded independent journalism. Support us in helping to find more solutions like this. Be part of the solution, changing consciousness and addressing our world's biggest challenges with a problem-solving mindset. Everybody, let's keep the Optimist Daily free to all who need it, supported by those who can. Ole-Kristian, thank you so much for this conversation. Kristy, have a fabulous weekend. And Amelia, welcome back.